So, I'm gonna talk about what I've done and for why. So, uh, first first thing I did that wasn't just research was like theme my game, and I decided to go for like a trauma core aesthetic, which is it's an aesthetic built by people who have usually sexual trauma from like their childhoods, and it's kind of based around like cutesy, childish like visuals with like really disturbing words over the top. And I kind of thought that that would really fit my game because the the target audience made the aesthetic I'd be like drawing from, and also because it's like a really interesting coping mechanism which people have found. And a lot of people don't like the aesthetic because they think it's romanticizing trauma, but in my opinion, it's kind of not doing that. It's finding a more healthy way to like express your trauma without like you know harming yourself about it, which is a big symptom of childhood trauma. And I think it's a really interesting thing that they've done. And yeah, and then I was like, okay, what else kind of fits a trauma-y aesthetic when I because my game is kind of based around like um it's kind of like a trauma exploration game from the like subconscious mind of like dreams and how they can express your trauma better than like you can sometimes. And so like my audience is like 18 to 25-year olds with big trauma, in the style of Yume Nikki, Dreaming Mary, that kind of thing, because that the target audience for that is kind of now like around 20 to 30 years old. So I figured I'd kind of try and make a game like that, but for the modern, the same demographic, but for like the now people of that demographic. So yeah. Um, then I was, and then I wrote this. But no, I did the main character first, and I really drew on the aesthetics of Dreaming Mary for that because the main character of Dreaming Mary is very cutesy and pink and all like cute and fluffy, except in like certain endings where you see the real world of her. And like I was like, yes, let's do that cutesy pink aesthetic, that's also based on like the trauma core aesthetic. So I took the like cutesy pink um, like outfits, and then I added a splash of yellow because who doesn't like a splash of yellow? And I thought it made the character look a lot more, interesting. I thought it brought a little something extra to the character because I did try it with the pink, and it just looked a little bit too pink. It was all very monotone pink, and it kind of blended all together. So that pop of yellow, I think, like really helped it to stand out. And yeah, that bright yellow really shows up in a lot of the areas that I was thinking of, because like most of the areas are either really dark or they are very cutesy and pink, and there's not much yellow in them. So I figured that would really help the character show up. And then I did the poster, and I drew on the posters from Welcome to Night Vale and the cover art for Dreaming Mary and a few other games, and for the pink version. And I thought it like the eye aesthetic, the eyes in it are like quite representative of like one of the major like symptoms of having CPTSD, which generally comes from childhood trauma and CSA, is the feeling that you're constantly being watched. And so I really wanted to like put the eyes into it, and yeah, and I originally in my a lot of my thumbnails I was drawing the main character like falling through the sky, and I was originally going to put that into the final design, but then I decided it was too much and it didn't really work. But like I thought it would be a really interesting like to have the main character like falling through the sky, like she's falling down, like she's been fine but now she's having like a dip because it faltering is recovery isn't linear, and quite often you'll have a falter. And so I thought that having the character falling and having like this game be like a like, since it's like a trauma recovery vibe, like the plot is her recovering from trauma, I thought that having her falling like back into the depression from the trauma would be a kind of interesting thing, but I didn't end up implementing that. But the I eventually went with like a pink sky and then a dark version of it, to show like the dichotomy between like how a lot of people present if they have trauma and how they feel on the inside. Because I did a lot of research, and a lot of people who have like the big CSA and stuff tend to like they all like there's research on it, and I can't remember the name of the person who did the research, but it was mid 90s, early 2000s. And they discovered that a lot of people who have trauma present really cheerily to like, hide the fact that they've got all of this going on the inside. And I tried to like make that dichotomy with the like glitching GIF poster. And I think it really worked. I'm quite proud of it. But yeah, and I implemented a lot of the eyes into the final design, but only in the dark version, so that like it would have that like she's dealing with it, but like she still feels like she's still always being watched about it, and I think it worked. I think the next thing that I did was make the mood board, and that's it's just the aesthetic of what I was going for, and yeah, there's not really much to say about that. But yeah, and then I wrote the song for my trailer, and I drew a lot on songs like Secrets of Wisteria, which is a song. It's all the entire basis of the song is the chords from the Dies Irae, which is a piece of classical music written in the I think 1700s, which was about the death of Jesus. And since then, a tiny clip of the music, the do 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 do, has been used in a lot of things to represent death. It's in Star Wars. It's in Sweeney Todd. It like it's the entire basis of Sweeney Todd, and I can literally talk for half an hour about how that works, but I'm just not going to get into Sweeney Todd right now because that's not relevant. But it's also used in Nightmare Before Christmas and so on. And all of it is the entire basis of the chord structure of the song is based on the Dies Irae when it flips to the dark part. Because I kind of wanted to represent like how it can be like how a lot of people who have like big trauma dream about that trauma, and they have flashbacks in their dreams, and that usually makes nightmares, and I kind of wanted to represent that. But I also wanted to represent that the trauma can be deadly, and yeah, and I think that worked. And I really drew on the lyrics from Secrets of Wisteria, and oh, what other? And I did also draw quite a bit on a lot of Nicole Dollinger's discography, because she does actually use the trauma core aesthetic in her music because she had like trauma as a kid, and it all really represents in her music, especially the song "Angels of Porn," which is about childhood sexual abuse, and I think that's really interesting, and I kind of wanted to use like a similar lyrical structure to her, and I think it worked. And I also really wanted to add that flip between like the light cutesy dream part and the dark version in my song, because I really wanted to add to that dichotomy that I used in the posters. And yeah, and then I did the storyboards, and I think that my storyboards, the structure for the trailer would be quite interesting. And even though I only did the first, like the cute section, I think that I would have really liked to have had the time to animate the rest of it, because I thought I had a really good idea there, and I was going to like not like explicitly represent like the sexual trauma, but I was going to use a lot of the things which creators, I think I've seen it a lot in comic books and also in video games, and posters and that kind of thing. They use like subtle nods to the trauma, like things like it's used quite heavily in All You Want to Do from Six, the musical, where the sexual trauma is represented by what seems to be quite innocuous, just like placing hands in different places. And I was going to try and kind of do that, but like use like the darkness itself as like the things which would be representing that sexual trauma. And I think it would have been quite interesting. But I do really like the cutesy section. I think that's really fun, and I really like the way that I did that, especially with the clouds. The clouds bit is my favorite bit. Um, and yeah, I think that's, well. Did I need to talk about anything else? Not really. I think that my trailer, I think I've explained my trailer fairly well. I wanted to really represent that dichotomy. So the first section is really cutesy and floofy and all cute and so on, and then like the second half of it, the second two, like the two verses that come at the end after the cutesy bit, are quite dark in nature, and I think that I would have been able to represent that well in the visuals, but I didn't have time for that, and you know, I wish I had had time for that, but you know, life gets in the way sometimes. But yeah, I'm really quite proud of what I managed to get done on this project, even though I had a number of big brain slips in the depression-y way. But yeah, I didn't get as much done as I had wanted to, but I'm still proud of what I did manage to get done, because I had to really work hard on this project to get things done in the middle of a lot of issues which were going on, uh, like outside of college, and such as the flu, but other things as well that I'm not going to get into. But really I'm really proud of myself for managing to pull it together and get it done, because I genuinely didn't think I was going to be able to. And yeah, overall, I have enjoyed the project, but I did have a number of issues with it. But yeah, I think it went okay. Um, yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say. So see you at college. Please don't mark me horribly. Don't say that, Artie. That sounds like a bribe. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening.